So welcome to the class. In the last class we were doing key concepts, and in that we talked about ex ante, ex post. We talked about aggregate demand, aggregate supply, and in this today in the key concepts I'm going to do aggregate supply. But before that, just a quick recap. What is ex ante? Ex ante is everything that is planned, and ex post is what is actual, what is realized. And when we did aggregate demand, what did we talk about? What does Keynes talk about? What are the components? So it is the private demand, it's investment, that component is there, government demand, and net exports, export minus imports. So those were the four components that we did. But when we doing when we do Keynesian economics, we will just consider households and firms. So that is C plus I. So aggregate demand in Keynesian economics makes up as consumption plus investment demand. Now we take up aggregate supply, which means the output that is made, which means the expenditure which is there on the output, which is produced, which means the income generated. So in short, aggregate supply is nothing but income of a country in a given year. So we'll be talking about that, and in that we are going to talk about income can either be consumed or it can be saved. So we'll talk about propensity to consume and propensity to save. Propensity to consume is what proportion of consumption you do out of your income, and propensity to save is what proportion you save out of the income. So both stem from the income. So I want you to just have a quick look what we did. So this is what we are going to do: propensity to consume and propensity to save. Consumption function, saving function, it's known as. So again, Keynesian analysis, we spoke about that according to Keynes, in the long run we are all dead. His model is that of a short run, because he feels that technology remains unchanged in the short run. And if output ever increases, it's only because of increase in employment. So he looks at the equilibrium in the economy from the demand side. So there is a direct relationship between the level of employment and the level of output till full employment is reached. So, okay. So today what we are going to do is, it is the concepts that we are going on, and still with the introductory stage we are, to work out the income determination. So let's talk about aggregate supply. So what does aggregate supply mean? It means the value of final goods and services planned to be produced, see the word planned, ex ante, to be produced by all the production units in the economy taken together during a period of time. And okay, next let's see. The value of this output equals the cost planned to be incurred or to be spent on producing this output. And this cost the producers expect to recover during the period. So what does the cost include? That is, what does the cost of production include? It includes expenditure on payment of wages, payment of rent, payment of interest, and profits by production units. So now by definition, I'm sure it's getting clear to you that the sum of wages, rent, interest and profits received is equal to national income. So that equals national income. So therefore, value of aggregate supply and national income are same. It means aggregate supply equals national income. So we can see aggregate supply is also national output. So aggregate supply is equal to national output is equal to national income. So in this we have what is known as income can either be consumed or it can be saved. So income can either be consumed or it can be saved. So this is what we will be doing. So talking about, if we're talking about consumption, then it is, let's talk about propensity to consume or consumption function. So what is propensity to consume? It means the proportion of income spent on consumption. Proportion of income spent on consumption. And when you express this proportion in terms of ratio between total consumption expenditure and total income, it is known as average propensity to consume. And then we have what is known as marginal propensity to consume, when the proportion is of the change in consumption expenditure over change in to a change in income, that is known as marginal propensity to consume. Now talking about propensity to save. So what is propensity to save? Propensity to save is a proportion of income saved. So what out of the proportion of income, what is saved is propensity to save. What is propensity? It's the inclination. It means that. So if I'm when I talking about propensity to save, again there is what is known as what is average propensity to save. So what is average propensity to save? It is the proportion when it is expressed as ratio between total saving expenditure, total saving to total income is known as average propensity to save. And when you're talking about, suppose, marginal propensity to save, then what is that? It is the proportion of change in saving to a change in income. So delta S by delta Y, that is known as marginal propensity to save. So if I've given you an example, with the example you can see, suppose 100 rupees is your income, out of that if 80 is consumption, then what is the saving? It's 20. So when you're going to talk about average propensity to consume, then what will it be? It will be 80, that is consumption, divided by 100. Alright, so that is known as average propensity to consume. Marginal is what has been the change in consumption to a change in income. So also, okay, so that is, so sometimes you see, now we're just talking about average propensity to consume can be greater than 1. Why? Because sometimes when the level of income is very low, consumption expenditure has to take place. It cannot fall below a certain minimum level. That is why. So APC can be greater than 1. Average propensity to consume can be greater than 1. Marginal propensity to consume is always varies between 1, 0 and 1. So, and talking about APS, average propensity to save, it can be negative, because if there will be consumption when there is no income, then obviously it is from savings. So saving means negative. So that is known as APS can be negative. And then we can again, so you can see for yourself here that I've given you how we've gone about it. So basically the income is 100, and out of that we talked about 80 was consumption. So what is savings? It's 20. So 20 divided by 100 is APC. APS, average propensity to save. So how much is that? How much would be that? 0.20. Okay, and then if it is marginal propensity to save, by how much has it increased? So it is like the change has been 3 divided by 10. So what is that? What does that come to? It comes to average propensity to save. What does that mean then? 0.30. Okay. So talking about relation between the two, average propensity to consume and average propensity to save. Now we're going to talk about the relationship. We will do this in the next class. So in this, you can get small little numericals based on that. Now, if you understood this, the formulas APC, APS is always, it is the ratio of, say, consumption upon income, that it is APC, that is average propensity to consume, and if it is saving divided by income, that's the ratio, then it is average propensity to save. If there's a ratio, if the ratio is between the change in consumption and change in income, then it is MPC, marginal propensity to consume. And if the ratio is between change in saving upon change in income, then it is MPS. So based on that, you can get numericals. And the more you practice, or more, just listen to this, go through your text, and you will surely be able to solve any numerical based on these. These come only for 1 mark.